Hey, welcome to Board with Life News. This week I'm doing my top 10 most anticipated Essen 2016 releases. Let's get to it. Hey, if you're new to this channel, I do weekly board game news every single Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that. This list was culled from the geek list, the giant geek list on BGG that had over 700 entries of games being demoed, shown, released at Essen. So it's a huge list. It gets bigger every year. A couple of criteria to be on the list or not be on the list. This list does not include expansions. It has to be available for sale at Essen, so games just being demoed aren't on the list. It has to not be previously available in the US, so if it was released at Gen Con over here, it's not on the list. It can't include reprints. And I did that list off the top of my head, so I probably messed up, and you're probably going to go like, wait a minute, that game already came out over here or something, and I just missed it, so sorry in advance for that. If you are interested in this list, this is the top 10, but I have a geek list over on BGG that I link in the description below that has 61 titles that I was interested in that if you want to see kind of a broader range outside of my top 10. All right, let's get straight into the games. Number 10 is La Granja, the dice game, no Siesta. This is by Andreas Odenhall, who was a breakout designer with La Granja. He designed that with Michael Keller. They kind of came out of nowhere. They hadn't designed a game yet, to my knowledge, at least not a popular one. And then La Granja was really big, like 2 or 3 years ago. They also have another game coming out this year called Solarius Mission that I was pretty interested in. You can see on the geek list. It didn't make my top 10. But La Granja, the dice game, no Siesta, is based around the dice element in the game La Granja. It's a whole game that they built just around that little thing. La Granja has a mashup of like a ton of Euro mechanics, and it actually does a really good job mixing a whole bunch of different things. But my favorite part of that whole game was the dice portion, the dice drafting portion. So I'm really excited to get just a fast game that's focused entirely around that. And I'm a big fan of dice and Euros, so number 10. Number 9 is Ennis. It is an area control card drafting game set in a like Celtic fantasy world. It has absolutely gorgeous art and great components. At Gen Con, they were demoing it, and it really caught my eye. The art is really unique, really colorful, and I absolutely love it. This might be a sort of sleeper hit for me. Normally, I don't like kind of direct conflict area control games, but I happen to really like Blood Rage, which is also an area control card drafting game that came out last year. This one's really high on my list, mainly just the art. It's so gorgeous. Number 8 is A Feast for Odin. This is Uwe Rosenberg's next giant game, like Caverna before it. It comes in a massive deep box with tons and tons and tons of components. This, I'm most excited about the aspect that he's taking sort of the Tetris-style things that he was exploring in Patchwork and putting them in one of his big games. This would be higher on my list, but you'll probably see why it wasn't. His big games don't hit the table as often for me, just for setup and all sorts of reasons. But he's probably my second favorite designer after Stefan Feld, so obviously I'm going to be excited about anything he has coming out. Number 7 is Key to the City London by Richard Breese and Sebastian Bleasdale. They designed an incredibly good game together called Keyflower. Richard Breese has been doing this Key series for a long time of games. And Keyflower is a really interesting kind of auction, tile placement, all sorts of interesting mechanics that feels really unique. And this is sort of an update of that. I don't know how much it's going to keep the original mechanics or what. It has all updated art. It has an updated theme. So I'm definitely excited about that because Keyflower is one of those games that I always wish hit the table more because it's so good. But for some reason, it doesn't hit my table that much. But this one, I'm definitely interested in seeing what they changed, what they kept the same. Number 6 is Colony. This is from a trio of designers, including Ted Alspach, who designed a game that I really liked called Castles of Mad King Ludwig a year or two ago. And he is the head of Bezier Games, who is publishing this game. This is a sort of deck-building dice game. I mean, it's certainly a dice game that has deck-building elements, but it's almost like engine-building deck-building, which deck-building is engine-building. Anyways, you get the idea. It uses dice as resources that you can... Some of them you can store from turn to turn, some of them you can use immediately, and then you have different cards that give you different abilities to manipulate those dice, and like in Dominion or many other deck builders, you're taking from a common pool of face-up cards, but your dice are sort of your money, where it's like you need 2 2s and 3 5s to get this card, and you can get that card and blah, blah, blah. But it looks really interesting. It has really nice art, so definitely excited about this one. Number 4 is Jorvik. This is by Stefan Feld, who's probably my favorite designer. This is a retheme of the game The Speicherstadt that came out a couple years back. I think the Speech Shot's probably his most underrated game. It's one of my favorites. It's maybe my third or fourth favorite of his, and I don't think it gets played nearly enough. The most exciting part of this for me is not only is it a retheme with all new art, but it's going to include elements or all of the elements from Kaispeicher, which was the expansion to the Speicherstadt that I've never been able to get a hold of. It's been out of print for ages, and it goes for a lot of money right now. So that's really exciting to me that I'm going to have some new stuff to play with. And it's a theme with Vikings that will hit the table more than shipping in Germany or whatever. And I'm really excited that hopefully this game finds a new audience with this release, because people should really be playing it. It's this really interesting, like, using workers placement as an auction mechanic thing. It's really cool. So excited about this one. Number 3 is Cottage Garden. This is also by Uwe Rosenberg that I mentioned earlier in the list. This looks a lot like a 4-player version of Patchwork, where Patchwork was a game that came out in 2013, a couple years ago, that used these Tetris-shaped tiles, and you're placing them on your board trying to make a patchwork quilt. In this game, you have a board, but you're trying to place tiles on it, but avoid certain spots because they'll score you points. So there's some push your luck with, like, should I wait to see if the perfect tile comes out, or should I go ahead and take this tile that's pretty good that covers up this space, but I might not get points for it. The reason this beat out A Feast for Odin for me, to be this high on the list, is because I know this game is going to hit the table way more than A Feast for Odin, and I absolutely love Patchwork, but I very rarely play games with 2 players, so I'm very excited to get somewhat of the same experience with 3 or 4 players. So very, very excited about this one. Always excited about whatever Uwe Rosenberg is putting out. Number 2 is Great Western Trail by Alexander Pfister. Pfister really burst onto the scene a year or two ago. Having made very few games before then, he just got back-to-back Kenner Spiel Awards, first for Broom Service and then Isle of Skye. Isle of Skye is probably my favorite game of 2015, so I'm absolutely in love with his designs. I've really enjoyed all of his games that I've played, so very, very excited to see what he's doing here. This is a heavy-ish economic Euro game set in, like, the American West, which is a pretty interesting theme as far as heavy economic Euros go. It's not immediately where your brain jumps, but, you know, Alexander Pfister has Mombasa, Oh My Goods, just really been killing it lately with his designs, so very, very excited about this one. And my number 1 game of Essen 2016 is the Oracle of Delphi. This is another Stefan game. This is interesting because it's not a point salad game. Stefan mainly known for making games where you score a whole bunch of points in a whole bunch of different ways. This is actually a racing game where you're the first person to get 12 points wins. So this is a totally new territory for Stefan. I'm very excited about that. I love seeing kind of the new mechanics and new ideas that he's exploring in his games. He's always very adventurous with combining mechanics and things of that nature. So really, really excited about this one. You're going around a modular player board and trying to figure out the best pathway to things, but you can cut people off. So it sounds like there's going to be way more direct interaction with other players than a lot of his other games, so that's definitely interesting. But yeah, any Feld game I'm going to be playing, and this one I've been really excited about for quite a while now, so very pumped to finally get this to the table. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this page, because as I said earlier, I do weekly news every single Wednesday, so you can stay up to date on board game happenings. Also, make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games on Instagram and Twitter. Also, I am doing a Patreon, so there's a link somewhere on this page. If you click that, you can go to my page, and I have a bonus video that's only there that is my 3 most intriguing games coming out at Essen 2016. So these are interesting, weird, unique games that I saw that were interesting to me. It's totally free. You don't have to pay the Patreon to see or anything. It's just on the front page, but it's my way of getting you to the page so you can look around and see the kind of rewards that I'm offering and stuff. So definitely go check that out. And if you like what I do, throw me $1 if that is in your budget. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.